make a show.
That's
The
it.
recording has begun. When? Tonight. When we discuss 1991's Are You About a Size 14? Silence of the Lambs. Jonathan Demme directing, master of music, done a lot of really good stuff. And then this movie swept the Oscars. Five wins this year.
One of only 3 movies, right, that have ever actually captured, that have ever swept.
I think 2. No, I don't know.
No,
I don't know.
I saw it in the facts. One of 3 movies, one of which happened.
How many
One Flew Over the
movies
Cuckoo's Nest,
and then Return of the King.
No.
Didn't Return of the King get like 12 when it should have been Fellowship?
Well, swept
Nope,
all
it's,
5 of the best categories.
It happened one night in 1934.
Yeah, the Oscars usually it's just one broadcast.
No, that's the movie title.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and
then
One
this
what?
one, yeah.
Huh. Well, this happened one night.
The Mockingbird that flew over the cuckoo's nest, but
Oh.
don't kill the Mockingbird.
Right. No. Atticus Finch will prosecute you with Mr. Smith when they go to Washington.
This fucking guy.
I can do this
movies.
all night. All right. This movie is it's in the canon of pop culture. There are a number of references in this movie. Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins share 4 scenes together, and it's some of the most remembered movie making in modern history. It's the number 1 movie of all time. I said it.
Bam. Number 1 of all time.
But I would give it an F. I find the acting to be wooden.
Okay, Joe.
No, just kidding. Russ, you brought us into this. Go ahead and rate it and grade it.
Without saying too much, like I normally do, I'll give it an A.
Great.
And all right,
Riveting.
cool. We're keeping it. All
right. Joe, how do you feel about this movie?
I'll go into it
The
later.
brevity is astounding. It's an A+. I mean, for more reasons than how it's withstood the test of time. That being said, I'll follow Russell's example. A+
Brevity.
for me. Yeah.
Well, I got about a 30-minute diatribe, so here we go.
Settle in, folks. Buckle those seatbelts.
In the history of modern film, no movie. No, I don't know. This movie's a solid B+. It's not like it's aged well, but it hasn't not aged well. There are slow points, but they're all pretty well designed. It moves along pretty quickly. Definitely feel like this movie has its components. And like I already mentioned, they're pretty much broken up by the interactions between Foster and Hopkins.
Right. But how much of that comes from where Hollywood and just genuine like genuine like true crime TV was at the point?
Well, I mean, genuinely.
What you
The penultimate movie.
It's never gonna die.
I mean, a lot of it. This movie was a bit of a phenomenon in 91. It takes Scott Glenn plays, what's his name? Crawford, Chapman, whatever it is. He is based on John Douglas, an actual profiler, wrote the book on Manhunter, helped develop the FBI's profiling department, as it were. He is, they actually made, what was it? Netflix has Manhunter, where he interviews the serial killer. It's the whole thing in the 70s where he actually starts developing this, how we can find these mass murderers through profiling. Spearheads the whole thing, and then his character is made into Scott Glenn, who handpicks Clarice Starling as a real go-getter. She does a great job. Real go-getter.
Oh, I mean, it's a fucking plant. I mean, come on now. I mean, plot. Speaking to the plot. I mean, he didn't just pick her.
No, he absolutely uses her
Yeah, she's bait.
to
She's
appeal to Hannibal Lecter, who is he talks to a guy in the cell next door and convinces him to swallow his own tongue. That's referenced in this movie.
Yeah.
That Mills, he really didn't appreciate what Mills did. Let me ask
And
you this,
what
Joe.
was it that Mills did?
Well, let me ask you this: in modern nomenclature, I've heard across the pond it referred to as seagulling, or here in America, it's called Spider-Manning. And
no idea what you're talking about.
It's disgusting.
No. Yes, you do, Joe.
Does it have something to do with swinging from ropes?
Yeah,
No,
exactly. Yes, shooting ropes and passing them along. It's
snowballing.
I remember. No, it's a different act. I remember watching this as a kid, and so much of that little interaction going over my head because I didn't know what a "See You Next Tuesday" was. So that whole thing, I was like, I don't get what this word is that they're referencing. It's almost like it's blurred out, like Beatrice's name in Kill Bill, where it's like I don't even get it. But watching it now, good for Hopkins, good for Hannibal Lecter to get that guy off of this earth.
Well, I feel like that scene in particular, it wasn't even being a little kid or something. This whole movie does it. It's like the more you watch this movie, the better it gets because it's hard to follow. It's hard to I don't know, the way they do it. It's slow paced. And then all of a sudden, and if you're not paying attention, all of a sudden you just miss it.
I mean, the whole, all it is one picture when he's on that plane. And he looks at the picture of who they're about to go raid the house of, and it's not the guy.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit. And then he opens the door and there is Clarice Starling. Yeah, I find the first interview with Lecter and Starling and that whole cut sequence, I've got it written down later here, but the whole time he's cutting between them talking, them getting ready for the raid, right? They're doing all this buildup, and then her canvassing her way to this guy's door.
No, I think that's a trope that was picked up hugely in the real crime. I mean, Law and Order, moving
dun, dun.
As the ground. Yeah, no, seriously, everybody knows that soundtrack, right?
Yeah. Oh,
dun, dun, or whatever the fuck it is. But culminating in something like Showtime's Dexter in today's day and age.
Now let's all try and get that. Come on, give me your best Law and Order. No, just kidding. I was listening to just a little aside. Yeah, that was really good.
That's it.
I was listening to a podcast with Eddie Vedder on it, and they had asked him about crowds across the world. And he was saying that South America, like they'll even sing the guitar parts to the song. They are so into it. So it takes it to that whole next level where it's like they sing the lyrics and then they'll sing the music part.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty cool.
I believe
anyway,
I used to
just a little aside.
Parts.
Could you imagine them doing that to Van Halen?
Yeah. I bet they would, and it would probably sound fantastic.
I don't know. I think it would sound like a bunch of crazy people.
Yeah,
but no, I think this movie lays the groundwork for probably the next 20 years of horror movie.
Well, I think more suspense, personally.
Suspense horror.
There's very little like horror in this. It's very much they really want to just tighten up how you feel the whole time you watch it.
And I would argue
a really good job of it with the close-ups with Hopkins in that first interview. Like I would argue constantly on his face.
I would argue friggin' it's at the time this was horror. Now in 2022, it's not horror.
Agreed.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean,
I actually, coming back to what I said before, the first time you watch this movie, it's more, the suspense is so much that it feels like horror. And then now when I watch it, I'm not scared at all. Like, there's nothing scary about this movie.
Oh, dude, this was before Saw. This was before House of a Thousand Corpses. This was before fucking
not Psycho.
But Psycho was more along the lines of this type of thriller. Like
Psycho even scary?
Anyways. Yeah, have you watched it? The original? Hell yeah.
Yeah. It
makes your skin crawl. Makes your skin crawl. Also, the more you watch this movie, the more they get out of it. Russ, do you think that you realize that people who like moths are genuinely evil? Is that what the movie's really saying? I would agree. Moths creep me out, dude.
People with 2 first names. Those are
Jane
the 2.
Gum. Like, hey, it's
qualities.
an N, dude, and it's Jane Gum.
Jack Ryan is a villain.
You mean like Joseph Dominic?
No, he's not. He saves the world.
Deep down, I know. I know.
Wow.
That pause brought to you by Old Rasputin's. Wow. Sometimes you gotta just sip the cup.
Everyone drink beer.
Hey, remember she has those flashbacks to her father. She's got, I think, 3 of them, right? His funeral, and then the one time when he comes home, that black truck that drives by in the end of that scene. Did anybody else take note of it? It was sweet.
Did not.
Nice 70s Chevy, maybe a Ford. I can't tell you, but it's a pretty sweet old pickup.
What about the aging of this movie? Like, how do you guys feel like this movie aged over the last 30 years at this point? I mean, 31.
I'm not bored out of my head watching it. I'll say that.
That's true. I'd say the reasons I don't give it an A+ are probably aging issues.
What do you have against Anthony Hopkins?
Nope. Anthony Hopkins is great. He was the most captivating thing about the entire movie. But kind of when we did Die Hard and we talked about how bad the police officers were at acting, that held this movie back for me a little bit.
I didn't even think about it, but that's a great corollary between this fucking guy and fucking the police captain in Die Hard. Great fucking call out, Russ. That's
like
fantastic.
All the police officers, the SWAT guys, when they get out of their SWAT car and they've all got shotguns and they look at each other and they're like, they just have this awkward stare and they're like, let's do this. Just like, what the fuck was that?
After he escapes, right?
Well, no, it's leading up to the escape as they go in the building. But
well, I mean, no, they're there because he's escaped, right?
He's escaping. It's while the guy's still in the elevator.
Right. Yeah, tomato. When they're all looking up at the blood at the top of the elevator and they realize somebody's up there. I'm watching this and I'm like, is that squad guy Chris Isaac? And it totally is. I made sure to watch the credits. Yeah, what a wicked game to play is in this movie as the SWAT guy. For a second, I thought Ice Cube might be in there too, but I felt really.
He's not only the SWAT guy, but he's one of the top credited actors in the movie because
fifth billing.
Who gives a shit about a lot of them?
I'm just kidding. It's not fifth billing. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, that's Jonathan Demme. There's actually a lot of those little like George Romero of Night of the Living Dead and many zombie movies fame. He's one of the FBI squad guys. There's a lot of little roles I think that pop out. The Barney at Lecter's original imprisonment place, the black guard who lets Clarice in and talks to her. He's been in a ton of shit. As soon as I saw him, I'm like, I know him from like 12 different movies.
He's always a side character.
I missed that old segment with the B-roll.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot.
What movies do you know them from? Well, I was just saying is I wanted to go back to the aging just for a quick second. I didn't get to throw my part in there.
Ageist.
I mean, I'm an ageist.
I got more to say about ageism too.
I have gray in my beard. I'm qualified.
I have old friends. I got friends who are like 10 years older than me. They're about to die.
Shut up,
what
dick.
The fuck?
Didn't
fuck
mean
Russell.
Let's talk about why this movie's bullshit. Number 1, Russ picked it.
Number 2, Russ picked it.
Number 3, fuck you, Russ.
Hey, old people are cool.
They sure are. They've got lots of great stories. They know how to use little pieces of a ballpoint pen to pick the locks on handcuffs.
And like this story,
they have an aspiration to eventually be famous movie critics.
All right. Fair enough. I mean, you got us. You win.
Wow.
Russ wins.
Tied it in.
Russ
For a
wins.
second, I thought you did research into how Hopkins wanted to break into the U.S. market and figured if this wouldn't do it, he was going to go back to British theater. And
is that
the rest
a
is
fun
history.
fact or is that bullshit?
No, that's a fun fact. Yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah?
was like, all right, I'll try this. If not, I'm just going to focus on staying home. Anthony Hopkins, probably in my top 10 of actors who would be fun to hang out and have a beer with. He's a fun dude who's everything I hear about him as a person sounds like he's a good going guy.
Living
Sounds
life, doing his thing.
Right. But you wanted to talk about old people.
No, yes, I do want to talk about old people. I want to talk about old movie making techniques and something that this brought to the screen that I don't think had really been seen, or at least not performed as well as it was in this movie, which is the cut scenes and the close-ups. I would argue that the actors were made better by whoever shot the movie. That the cut scenes and the focus and whoever drew out that plan of like the super close-ups on Hopkins, and
especially the interview.
And the interview scenes are so intense, dude.
When she asks him about his drawings, when she asks him about his drawings, and it swaps back to him, and you're way back, and you see his room and everything, and then it's almost like a zoom in, but it's not. It's a cut to when he turns back, and you're right back up on his face. Yeah, done really well. Either the storyboarding had it down, or the editor to this, should get some recognition, but doesn't.
One of my favorite things,
etc., whatever. But yeah, the pace of it was amazing.
One of my favorite things about the interview process was that Anthony Hopkins or Hannibal would turn away every time he wanted her to speak. He's like, I'm not talking anymore. It's your turn. I'm not going to look at you until you give me what I want. But because I'm such a good profiler, I'm going to tell you what you're doing and thinking without even looking at you.
Yep.
It was badass.
Yeah. The writing and the combination of the directing and the editing, I think is all what really made this outstanding. Because to be honest with you, this is a lot of times I've watched it to sit back this time and really kind of just watch it from this perspective. I've never watched it from a perspective of, all right, well, how is this movie relevant? It's honestly a little dated. A lot of the things that they used that were groundbreaking at the time are tropes now. Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about the desensitization of society to this movie. It was horror. Now it's not horror.
One of the other things that dates the movie to me is the killings in it, especially like when he kills the two cops in the cell. It was so old. Like,
are you going to die from having your nose bitten off?
Well, in like he bites him and stuff, and he's got all the blood on his face, and then the guy's laying on the ground, and there's actually nothing wrong with his face. The other guy's just got a little bit of blood on him as well.
Right.
And it's just all about what you're perceiving and not necessarily what they're showing or how it's being acted. When he's beating the dude in the head.
Yeah, right. The nightstick. Yeah, I gotta admit, even every time I've watched this, when he does the skin on the face bit, I'm like, that's still his face. You still see his face under. It's not the same shape as the other guy. I get taken out of it right there.
And that's speaking to
I don't know
desensitization. I can't fucking speak of horror nowadays, because at the time, like the fact, just contemplating as the everyday person, skinning somebody's face completely off of their skull and then wearing it as your own.
So
people just had never heard or even seen or contemplated that kind of shit before.
Right. I mean, Honestly, to go against Ben, I have no idea if that works. Like, maybe it would look good. I don't know.
I mean, it's fucking
I think you're
Face
probably
Off,
just
dude. They've
averting
already
your
proven it.
eyes.
Science is there. Face Off makes
The
this legit.
science is
I mean,
there. John Woo knew what he was talking about. I feel like maybe you're trying to avert your eyes, but at the same time, if you're a cop or an FBI agent, if you're worth your salt, you're really looking for you're looking at that and you're like, what has happened to this guy? I need to figure out what's happened to his face.
and admittedly,
Not just that it looks like it's been lightly flayed.
but even that was written well, right? So like the squad captain was a gung ho, take no shit. We're gonna just come, guns are the answer situation. But as soon as he's confronted with the casualty, he friggin' throws the rookie on the casualty.
Right.
So
doesn't want to listen to him talk. So he's like, talk to him.
yeah, no,
I've
been through too much. I can't do it again, Johnny. You talk to him.
It was
it's
a
Billy.
super
We got to talk to
cool-
right there. It's Billy.
It was a really, really cool and unique way that's honestly never been done again.
Wait, no,
like-
come on. Who did it better? Hannibal Lecter, Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, or Dwight Schrute on The Office? Come on.
Like
the question has
Dwight
to be
Schrute
asked.
on The Office.
Agreed.
I mean,
Dwight Schrute with the CPR dummy looks so good.
But Dwight Schrute
Never
He's
been
directly-
done again.
he's directly taking it from this movie. The only reason it's any good is because he's like imitating Hannibal.
Hello, Clarice, which is actually misquoted. That's not the line. It's interesting to listen to it and hear it and be like, huh, I always hear hello, Clarice, but that's not what it is.
What was it, Ben?
Good evening, Clarice, I believe.
yes.
Pretty sure that's exactly what it is. So this movie was written by a guy. I want to say his name was Harris or something like that. I'm sorry. I should have wrote your name down, but I didn't. Based on a book adapted by two different screenwriters. In the book, when he's talking about the census taker that he ate with fava beans, he in the book ate him with a nice bottle of Amarone. And the movie, it's Chianti. Russ, as a connoisseur of human flesh, which one's right?
Like what you almost trapped me.
Hey, you
'Cause you
almost
said-
said something.
He said connoisseur of human flesh. And I was like, all right, I'm the wine guy. I got to answer this.
The funny part is I would argue that he doesn't say anything about the Chianti until the closing scenes, right?
No, that's the first interview
No.
when they talk about a census
Yeah.
taker, when he's talking about the survey she's brought
I thought
him.
it was in the closing scene when he was talking about having a friend over for dinner and a nice Chianti.
No,
I mean,
no, just I'm having an
personally,
old friend for dinner.
if I'm going to drink
No, you're
one,
right. You're right.
period, it'd be a Chianti.
Yeah, not an Amarone.
No.
See, so the wine community weighed in and they won.
And they said, get this in the movie so it's more.
Yeah. Be fucking accurate. The guy who wrote this book knew shit about wine.
I know, right? He was, but everything about eating people.
That's it. The movie's an F. I can't do it anymore. Fuck this show.
I always find it funny when her second visit to Lecter, like the first visit, she's got to go through so much rigmarole to get in. And the second visit, it's like, what's up, Barney? Let me in. I got to go. Finally, he mentions it the third time she comes back. Chilton, which the guy playing Chilton does a great job of being a slime ball. So good. Like at the end, you're glad that Lecter is hunting him. You're like, yeah, go get that guy. What's he doing with being on the
I
planet?
couldn't
Shit, I want to know what he tastes like with the Chianti.
I couldn't remember the next movies very well. Like I remember them, but not all that well. And I was like, is this the guy whose brain he eats? And
I don't think so. Ray
It's
Liotta, I
not.
think, plays somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to look for it and it's not him.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's see what else I got.
Well, there's
When they're doing
pigs.
when they find the girl and they're doing the autopsy. That's a good scene where Scott Glenn has to like play off of the male bonding part and be like, let's not gross out the chick so that he can get rid of her. And then she just dismisses them. Y'all go on now. I thought that was actually a pretty good scene where it's like she phrased that perfectly. Like, go.
Then it was funny. It felt forced to me now on this watch through. But
yeah.
But again, dude, that's after 2 decades of having this come from a unique presentation to a trope.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's watched NCIS or Dexter or any of these other shows is like,
especially Dexter.
Whatever. Why is
Dexter
this
takes serial killing as a interesting hobby to a whole new level? I feel like Dexter really, especially once they start getting into it, you're like, this has a lot of good tips.
And I think
not
Dexter
that I've ever used them or would ever think of using them.
I think Dexter's success is based on the fact that it removes the horror from the act.
I think Dexter's
success
one of the most
is horrendous shows I've ever seen as far as the violence and the pre-planned perpetrated violence on that show. And you're watching it and you're going, I feel for dude.
At least he's living by a code. It's really solid. I mean, Russ, you were going to say you really think Dexter is great because he's a ginger?
No. Did you know that he had cancer and was going through chemotherapy for all of season? I think it was 3 or 4.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he had to wear a wig.
Guy. Wow.
Yeah.
Is that guy actually
I knew the wig
serial
work
killer?
got crazy on that season.
Yeah, that was the one. Hey, we talked about Anthony Hopkins quite a bit. There's 2 other people in this movie who really carry it. Should we talk about Jodie Foster?
Let's talk about Nell. Shisha Peepa.
Okay, wait.
Oh yeah, I feel like she's one of the best actresses of my lifetime. She definitely, growing up, was one of the most prevalent, relatable in her roles. Dude, going back, being too young in the 80s to watch Taxi Driver, and then going back and seeing her in Taxi Driver as one of her first roles, crazy shit. Like, she is so adult in that movie, and I think she's 14, some crazy thing like that.
It's been a while since I've seen Taxi Driver, but shit's messed up.
Yeah, totally. Joe, if Jodie Foster and Drew Barrymore got in a fight, who would win?
Drew Barrymore?
Are you kidding me?
I know she's got the reach on her. Jodie Foster's a little thing.
I mean,
scrappy, dude. I don't know.
They both grew up in the streets. But
that's true.
Barrymore got in a little younger. And
more nerve endings destroyed by cocaine usage on the Drew Barrymore is my guess.
When it comes to,
she can take a punch.
Like, when it comes to movie characters, Jodie Foster's would totally destroy Drew Barrymore's.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
In real, I mean, have you seen The Brave one? Come on.
What was the other one I wrote down for Foster that I always think of? Inside Man. I love her. Like, she hadn't been anything in it for a while, I feel like, in that. And then she comes in as this, I help the social elite get things that they shouldn't be able to get. Such a good role. Love that movie. If you haven't seen it, Inside Man, watch it.
I really like Contact, honestly. Is one of my more favorite Jodie Foster films.
And I think of Contact and I think of South Park and Mr. Garrison sat through that whole fucking movie to find out it was her father.
I will agree with Mr. Garrison to an extent. Like, Contact is my number one movie that I think of when I think of Jodie Foster.
Really?
However, that movie is boring as fuck. It's a great movie. Oh,
I loved it.
But I will never watch it again. It is
I watch that at least once boring. A year. Once a year.
What? How? How?
She was actually the 4th in line for this movie. In case you hadn't done any looking, he originally, Jonathan Demme, the director, had just finished Married to the Mob. And that's the old Michelle Pfeiffer. Wanted to get her in the role of Clarice Starling. Too
Man,
violent.
that would have been good.
Too violent. Then Meg
What?
Ryan, 1991, still not out on the, too violent. No. Laura Dern, same thing. Too dark for me. I'm going to go do Jurassic Park instead.
Man, I could see the argument for Meg Ryan and the other
But
one.
Jodie Foster, it's well documented, read the book. She actually wanted to buy the rights to the movie after she read the book and found out she lost out to Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman was actually involved in this movie, thought he was going to play Chapman, Scott Glenn's role. He was going to direct
lying
it.
again.
Nope. Look it up. Gene
this
Hackman bought the rights to make this movie.
Boy, they called Wolf. Bullshit.
There's a really good story of him
Burt
watching
Reynolds was
his
his
performance in Mississippi Burning and realized that he looks like a real bad guy when he's a hard ass. So he backed off of being in the movie. But Hackman was almost the FBI guy in this.
To be honest with you,
blew your fucking minds, I guess.
Well, no, because I was trying to picture Gene Hackman as the FBI guy, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't have been mad at that. Like that would have worked. It would have dated the movie a little bit more.
How many movies have you seen Gene Hackman in where you're like, I just don't believe this guy? He's usually pretty believable.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Gene Hackman's amazing.
Gene Hackman's no hack.
Pretty great. I hear he's a dick. There's a lot of really good info about him making Hoosiers and how he thought it was a giant piece of shit. And that movie helped catapult him into stardom. Really interesting stuff to read about that.
Okay, wait. Before we move on from Jodie Foster, I just got to hand it to her. Hand it to this movie for even being on my radar. When I think of her, I think Contact first, Silence of the Lambs, then The Brave One, then for some freaking reason, Panic Room. She's so good in that movie, and it's actually such a good movie. It's such an under the radar movie.
What about her and Rob Lowe in Hotel New Hampshire?
No, don't think of that one.
You know that old game? Well, you don't know it. Bomb or crap, either one, where you name a movie, then you name an actor, and then you got to name another. That was one of my enders. I would get a point on that because nobody's ever heard of Hotel New Hampshire.
I actually do know of that game because you've talked about it before.
Cool.
First time I've ever heard of it.
First time.
All right. We got to talk about Ted Levine.
Ted Levine.
It's cool. Friends got classifications. I understand.
So they're doing a scouting trip for where is James Gumm's house going to be. And it's in Ted Levine's hometown in the house next to his high school girlfriend. Yeah. Yep. Creepy. Super creepy. This poor guy. What else have you seen him in that you've thought that's Buffalo Bill? It's always, he must be the bad guy.
Yeah, no, it's the way he comes across. He's just has a look.
This is crazy, but I watch Monk right now. Monk, because it's on Amazon Prime.
Right.
I don't know if you guys know this. Like, if you put on Netflix and you just let it run for 3 episodes, it'll go, "Are you still watching?"
Yes.
And if you don't click yes, it turns off after a while. Amazon Prime does not do that. So we fall asleep to Monk, and I have literally, like, my mind, even though I'm not awake, I've memorized all of Monk at least 5 times now. And Ted Levine in Monk he's the detective trying to find the murderer. It's a complete 180. And that's actually what I think of now when I see him. It's the giant mustache, like much heavier, older guy than he is in this movie.
I remember seeing him in The Mangler, which was a horrible adaptation of a Stephen King short story, but he played a cop in that as well. And I was like, oh, maybe he's the bad guy. He wasn't, but you see him and you're like, holy shit, this guy's creepy. I don't know.
And so
him and Jeff Bridges in The Vanishing, I think, are at my top for mushmouth crazy people who make my skin crawl.
Well, this guy was played a significant role actually in my marriage. My ex-wife was a huge fan of that character, Buffalo Bill. And I can't tell you how many times I heard the line, It rubs the lotion on its skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or it gets the hose again.
Yeah. Put the fucking lotion in the bucket.
Put the fucking lotion in the bucket.
That's almost what my opening line was. I wanted to do it. That, or I can.
I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. Oh my goodness.
See you next Tuesday.
I'm glad I didn't say this until after you said that, Joe. But everyone I know, Ted Levine, and you're the closest I know.
Oh my God.
What the fuck? Why you gotta blow me out? Dude, I wear my bandana every episode.
I'm just, it's the voice.
I gotta keep it approachable.
He's got that iconic voice that's very baritone. Like, that's not me, but that's my friend Joe. Joe can talk like him and just naturally sounds kind of like him. He's a little more nasally than you, but
Joe, can you show us your chest? You got that weird tattoo. What's the tattoo? What's the tattoo on that guy? It's like on Buffalo Bill. It's like
fun fact. That's not just the character. He has that tattoo. It's his real.
What is that tattoo of?
It's a bird. It's a bird that's like sliced him open. I made that whole thing up. I'm Ben Hansen tonight.
I like it.
Wow.
That's perfect. You had me going. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Me too.
Yeah,
I mean, he does a great job of being very off-putting when you're watching him. Can you think of any other villain or character in a movie that you watch and it makes your skin crawl more?
I mean, Hannibal.
Yeah, you think in this movie Hannibal makes you more uneasy?
In this movie, yeah, I would say Hannibal.
They're pretty on par.
They're on par, but and you know what's honest? I think the one thing that would make Levine's character worse more than Hopkins is that Levine's character has no remorse versus Hopkins. Honestly, if you listen and you really kind of watch the way his character is produced, I think he feels justified in his actions because he only consumes leeches on society, bad people.
But he killed those police
way off
officers.
the reservation. I don't know. I think you've gone way off the reservation on that. I don't find that Hannibal feels he needs to have remorse for anything. Everybody is not as important to him, so there should be no reason why he isn't allowed to do whatever he wants. And I feel that James Gumb feels much the same way, but instead is really consumed with this totally fucked up ideology. He doesn't really show compassion. He doesn't show remorse for these women
No, that's not true. There's where I'd say Ted Levine is more remorseful than Anthony Hopkins is when the girl's crying in the well. You see that Ted Levine has to turn away a couple times because he's about to cry because she keeps screaming. And when Anthony Hopkins kills the police officers who are nice as shit to him.
Oh, he's loving it.
He does not care at all.
He's like, finally, I get to indulge again. Now let's talk about that fucking dog for a minute.
I don't think anybody's ever portrayed on screen the pure joy of beating someone's head in with their face never changing expression. Like that scene, I think Hopkins.
You watch No Country for Old Men. Anton Chigurh.
Dude, I mean, we're talking 30 years ago, bro.
No. I want to answer Ben's question from earlier, but it kind of answers yours too. American Psycho? Like, far as
I got a caveat for that because I read the book and the movie is bullshit compared to the book. It's not creepy at all compared to that fucking book, which it's got some of the worst shit I've ever read in it.
I know you read it to me. You read it to me. And you were my boss. I just had to listen to you.
That's right. I'm like, you read half this book.
Your life.
We're not doing the movie, but I got to talk about it. You read half of the book. It never talks about a person's face or their manner of speech. It's all what they wear. everybody is the clothing they wear and how they live in relation to this character. So it really builds you up with this crazy world point of view. And then one night he goes on a walk and he fucking cuts a dog open and stabs a guy to death. It's such a shock that it really, that book is fucked up.
Ben just glossed over it. He read the dog killing scene.
It's fucked up.
It was an entire page. The dog is so, it's slow. It's horrible. It's a dog. The dog is reacting the way a dog would if it was slowly bleeding out and dying and its guts were hanging out. It is so, Ben, you ruined me. You made me a worse
This is why
person.
Russ doesn't read.
Hey, fun fact, right? Scott Glenn is talking to John Douglas. What's his name? John Douglas. John Douglas. Where's my fucking note? He's talking about the guy he's based on, right? And he's like, it'd be so interesting to be in your world. And he says, if you really want to be in my world, listen to this tape we have of these two guys torturing, raping, and killing two young girls. He listened to about a minute of it and said, I wish I could go back and decline that offer and never listen to this again. The shit that the FBI and people must see and go through. I feel like where is the PTSD movie for FBI officers? I'd like to watch it. I'm sure it's out there. What is it? Tell me.
I have no idea. You actually that's $1 million idea. Like, I mean, fuck, dude. But
can't even imagine
when they're just like, all right, put the stuff under your nose, flip this thing open, and she's got her back turned, and they go, like, you ready?
Yep.
Turn around.
But then they open that bag and he recoils from the smell. I'm like, dude, that bag was not keeping that smell in. That room smelled fucking awful. And it's got 18 cops. What are all the cops doing at that funeral home? Go solve a crime. What the fuck?
I think those bags do keep.
It's one of the things that didn't age well was all the cops there. And it's because of too many shows. I mean, NCIS.
Right.
There's a lot of cops.
Leader as a follow-up to Law and Order. Yeah, it would have never happened.
Oh wait, no,
never happened.
Yeah, every scene that involved local cops was pretty horrible to me. In this, that was really why it held it back from being an A+. That, and I think the murder scenes just didn't age well.
Blacklist. Like that was the one I wanted to bring up. Like Blacklist, probably insanely successful
with Robert California.
Influence of this movie.
Yeah, are you talking about the show Blacklist?
Yes, the show Blacklist
with James Spader.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never watched an episode, so I cannot do what I want to do, which is totally discredit that.
I would strongly suggest that show. It's an amazing show, and I would say it takes a lot of drive from this movie and its influence.
It's a really good murder mystery show, though. Murderville.
Fantastic.
And plot twists.
I love watching the clues and then making sure I'm picking up who does and doesn't have a thing. Anyway, Murderville was great. I love to talk about Benicio del Toro and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I don't think anybody has ever made me more nervous when he was on the screen than that guy watching that on the big screen. But Buffalo Bill is, also pretty creepy.
He's a creepy motherfucker, man.
It's true. It's true. Do you know Hannibal Lecter was offered to one other actor before Hopkins took it?
Who was that?
No way.
So, was it Sylvester Stallone?
You'll never believe it, laddies. Sean Connery.
Really?
Sean Connery. Yep.
I would believe that.
Yep. Can you imagine Sean Connery as Hannibal Lecter?
No,
I ate his liver.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it would be terrible.
Honestly, I mean, like
haggis and a Chianti.
I consider Sean Connery on the level of Anthony Hopkins. I mean, they've got
not for this role.
I think Anthony Hopkins would be a better hang. Connery's probably a bit too much of a dick. Hopkins just likes to have a good time.
I think Hopkins was superior, but I think Connery could have made a run for it, especially with the editing and then the storyboarding and the way it was written and all that. Like,
Not with his
I
asthma,
can't-
he couldn't.
I think that Sean Connery actually would have dragged this movie down, and it would not have won as many awards, and it wouldn't have been as critically acclaimed because Hannibal is half the reason this movie is so amazing. And
he is the
Sean-
reason the movie's so amazing. I mean, literally,
Sean-
without the scenes between him and Jodie Foster, the movie doesn't exist.
there's not a single movie that Sean Connery's ever been in where he is not just Sean Connery. And
This is true.
and
That's
he
fair.
can't really
You're the man
be-
now, dog. You ever see Finding Forrester? What a fucking crazy fever dream to get that movie made.
he could
Jesus.
not have been he could not have been creepy enough. He couldn't have been, it just would have been Sean Connery being Hannibal. And it just
That's fair.
it would have been fun. It just wouldn't have been good.
Speaking of fun but no good, let's talk about the dog for a second. Is that dog complicit in these murders? Precious? I mean, come on, dude. She's there
she
for
keep
all of
him
this
at the
shit.
end?
She sees this guy acting for a weirdo, and she's like, "This is normal. This is how my house runs."
Well,
Come
and
on, dog.
you're just telling me there's all these bones and human flesh around, and that dog don't have a particular appetite at that point.
I'm
Is
telling
this
you.
what is
I
this,
mean-
is this what we're down to?
I'm Silence of the Lambs 2. I'm telling you, Silence of the Lambs 2 is Precious starting to figure out how she's going to have a revenge on the senator's daughter.
There it is.
Hey, all right,
It's
everyone.
all from the point of
It
view
is.
of Precious.
starring
like-
Sylvester Stallone.
Like and subscribe. Like
What?
and subscribe.
The end scene on this movie, after he hangs up the phone and he starts to follow Chilton down the road, and you just watch this obviously not a real street in, let's say, Barbados, definitely actors for 15 minutes while they do credits. Could have been a little better. What movie has the best end credits like this? I would say it's either Romancing the Stone or Hamlet
That's
2.
pretty good.
Have you guys seen Hamlet 2?
I've not seen
Probably
Hamlet
not,
too.
but it's really good, really
What?
funny.
I mean,
The best-
Friday.
The best end credits goes to 21 Jump Street. The outtakes in that are great.
No. End credits that watch a intersection.
It's so
Oh, I
specific.
thought you were just like,
Come
something
on,
that's
Ben.
like-
You can't.
I mean,
This guy, he's going back to his old ways.
All right,
of
let's
like,
talk about gum
Sleepless in
flavors.
Seattle. I mean,
I don't remember how Sleepless in Seattle when finishes.
Japan,
Fuck.
just Japan in Tokyo.
Just
They've got that-
Japan.
They've got that one street. It's really popular.
There's just
true.
Starbucks on the corner.
Either you guys ever run a rope course?
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did actually. I said no, but yes, I did.
Yeah. For the
I was
FBI?
afraid.
No, it was fucking Halloween with Karen and the two girls, Trinity and Alexis, and we went to the pumpkin farm down outside Tracy. And I was trying to set an example. This proud parenting moment for me, so y'all just gonna have to listen. And I was like, all right, there's no reason to be afraid, so we're gonna do this. And it was fucking telephone poles, and it was like 4 stories, and it was way up in the air, and they wanted me to walk across a rope. It was not pretty. And then at the end of it, you had to jump off the end of the platform, and they did like a little rope zip thing down to the bottom.
Rope zip.
I did all that. I was like, all right, I did my thing. I was a dad. I was an example. And I went over there, and the kids friggin' left because I took too long. Didn't even watch me.
Damn, that's harsh.
No inspiration at all.
Yikes, dude.
I remember I went to a ropes course in elementary school, and I was afraid. I went to a ropes course in elementary, junior high, and high school, but
Yeah, it was called fucking recess, dude.
no, it was like
The
we had to
monkey
drive.
bars.
We had to drive hours to get there and everything. It was up fucking high and really high. And I was too afraid to do it at one point. And one of my friends made fun of me when I got down. and we got in a fight. It was a big fight. I pushed him and kicked him in the head, and we got sent.
So keep poking the bear. Keep poking
Yeah.
the bear, Ben.
Joe's gonna kick you in the head.
The other question I wanted to ask: how fun does FBI school look? You get to get fit. You get to do cool, actual like raids, mock takedowns. FBI seems like a lot of fun.
It's the private government military. I mean,
Okay, wait. Was it that one scene where a bunch of FBI agents like randomly chased down a person in a car and pull their guns on them? Was that like them in training? Because they did not establish that as them in training. They walk away and the guy's still like, "Oh no, you caught me."
They're about to tase that fool, except it's 91, so no tasers. It's just blat ow. No, it totally is. That's car maneuvers. That's pinching him in with the car and forcing him to get out.
You sound like the Super Bowl halftime show.
Was it good, by the way?
Shot. All right.
I only saw it from the outside.
Yep. Too busy cooking shrimp to make people go sick.
Chicken. All right.
I had other comments to make, but I'm now enough beers in. I can't remember.
Well,
good movie.
That's a good spot to end it then. Enough beers not to remember. Feel that as though this may be the way this show went. If you didn't like it, if you did like it, like and subscribe and share with others. We got more coming next week.